Park Do-yun lived alone in the mountains. His small house sat at the edge of a village so tiny that most maps forgot it existed. He liked it that way. After 10 years of working in Seoul, fixing machines for a company that never remembered his name, he had grown tired. Tired of the noise, tired of the crowds, tired of feeling like a small part in a giant machine that did not care if he broke. So he came here. He opened a small repair shop. He fixed tractors for farmers. He fixed old televisions for grandmothers who refused to buy new ones. He lived simply. He woke with the sun. He slept when the stars came out. He was not happy exactly, but he was peaceful. And for Do-hyun, that was enough. On the night everything changed, he was sitting on his porch, drinking cheap beer and watching the autumn sky. The mountains were quiet. The air smelled like pine and wood smoke. Somewhere far away, a dog barked once and then fell silent. Then the sky broke open. A line of fire cut across the darkness. It was not a shooting star. It was too big, too bright, too wrong. The light was blue and green in colors Do-hyun had no words for. It screamed across the heavens and then crashed into the mountains to the north. The impact shook the ground beneath his feet. His beer bottle fell and shattered. Do-hyun stood there for a long moment, his heart beating fast. He was not a brave man. He was not an adventurous man. He was a man who fixed broken things and minded his own business. But something in that light called to him. He grabbed his flashlight and his old jacket. He got into his truck and drove toward the crash site. The road ended after 20 minutes, so he walked. He climbed over rocks and pushed through bushes. The forest grew darker, but ahead he could see a strange glow between the trees. When he finally reached the crash site, he stopped breathing. It was not a meteor. It was not a satellite. It was a ship. The vessel was unlike anything he had ever seen. It looked like it had been grown rather than built. The metal curved like the shell of a sea creature. Crystals jutted from its surface, some still glowing with fading light. Smoke rose from cracks in its hull. Strange symbols covered its sides, beautiful and alien. Do-hyun approached slowly. His hands were shaking. His mind was screaming at him to run, to call someone, to do anything except walk closer to an actual spacecraft that had just fallen from the sky. But then he heard a sound. It was weak, soft, almost like a moan. He moved around the wreckage and found her. She lay in the dirt, half buried under a piece of the ship's hull. She was humanoid, but she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, like the color of glacial ice. Her hair was long and silver white, spread around her head like a frozen waterfall. Along her cheekbones and down her neck, faint patterns like scales caught the light. Her ears were pointed and elegant. Her clothes were torn and burned, but he could see they had once been fine and beautiful. She was unconscious. She was bleeding. A dark liquid that might have been blood seeped from a wound on her side. Do-hyun knelt beside her. He checked her breathing. She was alive, but barely. He did not know alien first aid. He did not know if human medicine would help her or kill her, but he could not leave her here to die. He lifted the debris off her body. She was lighter than he expected. He picked her up carefully and carried her toward his truck. That was when he heard the second sound. It was a deep, rumbling breath, like a furnace, like a storm. Do-hyun turned slowly. 50 meters away, hidden in the shadows of the forest, something massive moved. Eyes opened in the darkness, eyes that glowed like golden fire. The creature stepped forward, and Do-hyun felt his soul try to leave his body. It was a dragon. No, not exactly. It was something like a dragon, but also like a serpent, with 6 wings folded against a body the size of a bus. Its scales were deep purple and blue, covered in patterns that glowed with bioluminescent light. It had 4 eyes, all fixed on Do-hyun, with an intelligence that was terrifying. The creature was wounded. When one of its wings was broken, dark liquid dripped from cuts across its body. It breathed heavily, each exhale producing a small cloud of steam. It could kill him in a heartbeat. Do-hyun knew this with absolute certainty, but it did not attack. It simply watched him hold the alien woman in his arms. Do-hyun swallowed hard. He looked at the creature. He looked at the woman. He made a decision that was either very brave or very stupid. "I am going to help her," he said slowly, his voice shaking. I do not know what you are. I do not know what she is, but she is hurt, and I am going to help her. I will come back for you too." The creature stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly it lowered its great head, almost like a nod. Do-yun carried the woman to his truck. He drove home as fast as the mountain roads allowed. He laid her on his bed and cleaned her wounds as best he could. The dark blood did not seem so different from human blood. Her body was warm. Her heartbeat, when he pressed his ear to her chest, was fast but steady. He sat beside her all night, watching her breathe, wondering what he had gotten himself into. Just before dawn, she opened her eyes. They were violet, deep and endless, like looking into a galaxy. She stared at him with confusion, then fear, then something that might have been calculation. She tried to move, winced in pain, and fell back onto the pillow. She spoke. The words were strange, musical, and completely incomprehensible. But then something clicked behind her ear, a small device that flashed blue, and suddenly her words made sense. "Where am I? Who are you? Where is my bonded?" "You are in my house," Do-hyun said carefully. "My name is Park Do-hyun. I found you in the mountains. Your ship crashed. And if by bonded you mean the giant dragon thing, it is still in the forest. It is hurt, but alive." She processed this information. Her expression remained cold, imperial, and proud despite her wounds. She looked at him like he was a bug she had not yet decided whether to crush. "I am—" She paused, something flickering in her eyes. "I am Yura. I require assistance to repair my vessel and retrieve my bonded." Not a thank you, not a please, just a demand from someone who was clearly used to being obeyed. Do-hyun sighed. He had a feeling his peaceful life had just ended. "All right, Yura," he said. "Let us start with some water. Then we will figure out the rest." He had no idea that the wounded stranger in his bed was a queen. He had no idea that helping her would change the fate of worlds. He only knew that she needed help, and that he was the only one there to give it. For Do-hyun, that was enough. The first 3 days were difficult. Yura was not an easy guest. She did not say thank you. She did not say please. She gave orders like someone who had never been told no in her entire life. She complained about the food. She complained about the bed. She complained about the smell of the house, which Do-hyun thought was perfectly fine and smelled mostly like wood and old books. She refused to tell him where she came from. She refused to explain what she was doing on Earth. She refused to answer almost any question he asked. When he tried to examine her wounds, she looked at him like he had suggested something deeply offensive. "Do not touch me," she said coldly. "I will heal on my own." And strangely, she did. Her wounds closed faster than any human wound should. By the 3rd day, the cut on her side had become a thin scar. By the 5th day, even the scar was fading. Whatever she was, her body was stronger than his, but her spirit was different. At night, when she thought he was asleep, she would stand by the window and stare at the stars. Sometimes her shoulders would shake. Sometimes she would press her hand against the glass, like she was reaching for something impossibly far away. In those moments, she did not look like a proud alien with cold eyes. She looked like someone who was lost and afraid and very, very alone. Do-hyun pretended not to see. He thought she would hate him if she knew he had witnessed her weakness. During the day, he continued his normal life as much as he could. He went to his shop. He fixed a farmer's tractor. He repaired an old radio for the grandmother down the road. But every evening, he returned to the forest to check on the dragon. He had started calling it Baram, which meant wind in Korean. The creature seemed to accept this name, or at least it did not try to eat him when he used it. Do-hyun brought it fish from the lake. He brought it water in large buckets. He even tried to clean its wounds, though the creature's scales were so hard that he could barely touch them. Baram watched him with those 4 golden eyes. There was intelligence there, deep intelligence. Sometimes Do-hyun felt like the dragon was studying him, measuring him, deciding what kind of creature he was. "Your friend is getting better," Do-hyun told Yura one evening. "The wing is healing. Maybe another week, and it can fly." Yura said nothing. She was sitting at his small kitchen table, staring at a bowl of rice porridge like it had personally insulted her. "Is it not good?" Do-hyun asked. "It is. Simple," she said. "Simple is not bad. Simple keeps you alive. She looked at him. Those violet eyes were always so intense, so searching. Why do you help me? The question surprised him. What do you mean? I have given you nothing. I have told you nothing. I have treated you with suspicion and coldness. Yet every day you bring me food. Every day you tend to my bonded. Every day you ask nothing in return. Why? Doyun thought about it. He had never been good with words. He was better with his hands, with machines, with things he could take apart and put back together. You needed help, he said finally. That is enough. Yura stared at him like he had spoken in a language she did not understand. And maybe he had. Maybe in her world, there was no such thing as help without expectation. Maybe kindness always came with a price. In my world, she said slowly, nothing is given freely. Every gift is a debt. Every favor is a chain. Those who offer help always want something in return. Power, influence, alliance. There is always a reason. That sounds exhausting, Dohyun said. Something flickered in her eyes. It might have been surprise. It might have been amusement. It is, he shrugged. Well, this is my world, and in my world, sometimes people help each other just because they can. It does not have to be complicated. She was quiet for a long time. Then she picked up her spoon and took a bite of the porridge. She chewed slowly. She swallowed. It is not terrible, she admitted. Doyun smiled. From her, that was practically a declaration of love. As the days passed, something began to change. Yura was still cold. She was still proud. But she started watching him differently. Not with suspicion, but with curiosity. She watched him cook. She watched him fix a broken lamp. She watched him feed the chickens he kept behind the house. Why do you talk to them? She asked one morning, watching him scatter grain for the birds. To the chickens? Yes, they cannot understand you. Maybe not, but I think they like the company, and it makes me feel less alone. She considered this. You are a strange creature. Park Do-hyun. Probably, he agreed. One evening, she followed him to the forest to see Baram. The dragon's reaction was immediate. It lowered its great head to the ground. Its four eyes closed. A deep rumbling sound came from its chest, almost like a purr. Yura walked forward and pressed her hand against the dragon's snout. For a moment, her cold mask fell away completely. Her expression became soft, tender, full of love. She whispered words in her native language, and the dragon rumbled in response. Doyun watched in silence. He had never seen her like this. Vulnerable, open, real. You love it, he said. The dragon, you love it. She did not look at him. Baram is not an it, she is a she, and she has been with me since I was a child. She is my bonded, my partner, my oldest friend. In my world, the bond between rider and serpent is sacred. It cannot be broken. Where one goes, the other follows. Even here? Even to another world? Even here, even to the end of the universe. She finally turned to look at him. The coldness was back in her eyes, but it was thinner now, cracked around the edges. Thank you, she said quietly, for taking care of her. You did not have to do that. Doyun shrugged. She seemed nice. For a giant dragon monster. Yura almost smiled. Almost. She likes you. That is rare. She does not like most people. Well, I brought her fish. Fish makes everyone friendly. This time Yura did smile. It was small and quick, gone almost before it appeared. But Dohyun saw it, and something in his chest felt warm. That night they walked back to the house together. The stars were bright above them. Thousands of tiny lights scattered across the darkness. Yura looked up at them with an expression that was hard to read. Which one is yours? Dohyun asked. Your home, I mean. Which star? She pointed to a spot in the sky where he saw nothing but empty space. There, too far for human eyes to see, but I know it is there. I always know. Do you miss it? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I miss what it could have been. I do not miss what it was. Doyun did not ask what she meant. He thought she would tell him when she was ready, or maybe she would never tell him at all. Either way, he would not push. They reached the house. Yura paused at the door and looked at him with those violet eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. You are kind, Park Do-yun, she said. In my experience, kindness is rare. Do not let anyone take it from you. Then she went inside, leaving him alone with the stars and the strange, warm feeling in his chest that he did not quite understand. 2 weeks passed, and Yura was almost fully healed. Her alien body had done its work. The scars were gone. Her strength had returned. She could walk without pain, move without stiffness, and her violet eyes had regained their sharp brightness. But she did not leave. Do-yun did not ask why. He simply accepted her presence like he accepted the changing of seasons. She was there in the morning when he woke up. She was there in the evening when he came home. She had become part of his life without either of them planning it. Slowly, she began to help around the house. At first, it was small things. She would wash the dishes after meals. She would sweep the floor. She would fold the blankets on the bed. She did these tasks awkwardly, like someone who had never done manual work before. Her movements were stiff and uncertain. Once, she held a broom like it was a weapon she did not know how to use. Have you never cleaned before? Do-hyun asked, trying not to laugh. Yura's cheeks turned a darker shade of blue. I have attendants, servants, people who do such things. Rich family. She hesitated. Something like that. He did not push. Instead, he showed her how to sweep properly. He showed her how to wash dishes without breaking them. He showed her how to fold clothes so they would fit in the drawer. She learned quickly. She was smart, maybe the smartest person he had ever met. But there was something almost childlike in the way she approached these simple tasks, like she was discovering a whole new world. One evening, he taught her how to cook. We will start with something easy, he said. Rice. Rice, she repeated, looking at the small white grains like they were alien objects, which to her, they probably were. He showed her how to wash the rice, how to measure the water, how to set the cooker. She watched with intense concentration, memorizing every step. When the rice was done, she opened the lid and stared at the fluffy white result with something close to wonder. I made this, she said. You did. I have never made food before, in my whole life. How does it feel? She thought about it. Strange. Good, like I created something with my own hands. They ate the rice together with some vegetables and fish. Yura took small bites, chewing carefully, and Do-hyun could see her processing the experience. She was tasting not just the food, but the achievement, the independence, the simple joy of doing something herself. Tomorrow I will teach you to make soup, he said. I would like that. The soup lesson did not go as well. Yura added too much salt. Then she tried to fix it by adding water. Then she added more salt because now it was too bland. The result was a strange, salty liquid that tasted like the ocean had a fight with a vegetable garden. Do-hyun took one sip and his face twisted. Yura watched him with anxious eyes. It is terrible, he said honestly. Her expression fell. For a moment she looked genuinely hurt, like a child whose drawing had been criticized. Then Do-hyun laughed. Not at her, but at the situation. At the absurdity of an alien woman from the stars making the worst soup in the history of soups. Do not laugh at me, Yura said, but her lips were twitching. I am not laughing at you. I am laughing at the soup. It is so bad. I did not know soup could be this bad. You are definitely laughing at me. Maybe a little. She tried to look offended. She failed. A small laugh escaped her throat, quiet and surprised, like she had forgotten how to make that sound. Fine, she admitted. It is terrible. The soup is a disaster. The worst disaster this kitchen has ever seen. I will do better tomorrow. You will. And I will be here with lots of water, just in case. She laughed again, and this time it was real. Full and warm and beautiful. Do-hyun had never heard her laugh like that before. It transformed her face completely. She was not just beautiful in that moment, she was radiant. As the days went on, Yura began to share more about her world. Not everything, not the important things, but fragments, pieces, enough for Do-hyun to start building a picture. She told him about the Villani, her species. They were an ancient race, she said, older than human civilization by thousands of years. They had bonded with the great sky serpents, creatures like Baram, since the beginning of their history. The bond was sacred. It made them powerful. It made them feared. She told him about the Valani Empire, which spanned 12 star systems. She told him about the floating cities that drifted through the clouds of gas giants. She told him about the crystal palaces that hung in orbit around dying stars. She told him about the great hunts, where riders and serpents would chase comets through the void of space. She told him about the politics too, the endless, exhausting politics, the noble houses that fought for power, the alliances that shifted like sand, the betrayals and assassinations that were so common they had become almost boring. "You speak like someone who has been in the middle of it," Do-hyun said one night. They were sitting on his porch watching the stars. "The politics, I mean. You speak like someone who has been hurt by it." Yura was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "I have lost people. People I cared about. People who were supposed to protect me. They were taken from me by those who wanted power, by those who saw me as a tool, not a person. I am sorry. Do not be. It is the way of my world. The strong survive. The weak are consumed. That is the law. That is a cruel law. Yes, it is." She looked at him with those violet eyes, and Do-hyun saw something there he had not seen before. Pain, deep and old and carefully hidden. She carried it with her everywhere, he realized. Under the cold mask, under the proud posture, under the sharp words. There was a wound that had never healed. "You are different," she said. "You and your world. You help strangers. You cook food for guests. You laugh at terrible soup instead of punishing the one who made it. In my world, such softness would be considered weakness. But here it feels like strength." "Maybe it is both," Do-hyun said. "Maybe being soft and being strong are not opposites. Maybe you need both to be truly whole." Yura considered this. She looked up at the stars, at the distant point of light where her home waited. "I wish I had learned that earlier," she whispered, "before I became what I am." Do-hyun wanted to ask what she meant. He wanted to ask who she really was, what she was running from, what had hurt her so deeply that she had fled across the stars to escape it. But he did not. He simply sat beside her in silence, offering his presence, his warmth, his quiet acceptance. And for the first time since she crashed on his world, Yura did not feel alone. The morning started like any other. Do-hyun woke with the sun. He made breakfast. Yura sat at the kitchen table, practicing her chopstick skills with the determination of someone learning a new combat technique. She had improved greatly. She only dropped her food twice now, instead of 10 times. "Your grip is getting better," Do-hyun said. "These tools are absurd," she replied, but there was no real complaint in her voice. "My people use elegant utensils that respond to thought. These wooden sticks require the coordination of a surgeon. And yet you keep trying. I do not accept defeat, not from wooden sticks, not from anything." Do-hyun smiled. That stubbornness was one of the things he had grown to appreciate about her. She never gave up. She never stopped trying. Even when she failed, she simply stood up and tried again. They finished breakfast and walked outside. The autumn air was crisp and clean. Baram waited in the forest clearing nearby, her wings now fully healed. The great serpent had grown restless lately, stretching her wings and testing the air. She was ready to fly again. Soon Yura would be able to leave. The thought made Do-hyun's chest feel tight. He did not want her to go, but he knew he had no right to ask her to stay. She had a life somewhere among the stars, a home, a purpose. He was just a mechanic who had stumbled into her story by accident. He was about to say something when Baram suddenly lifted her head. All four of her golden eyes focused on the sky. A low growl rumbled from her chest. Yura froze. Her entire body went rigid. The color drained from her face. "They found me," she whispered. "Who found you?" Before she could answer, the sky split open. 3 shapes descended from the clouds. They were dragons like Baram, but smaller, built for speed and war rather than majesty. Their scales were dark red, the color of dried blood. Their riders wore armor that gleamed like black glass, holding weapons that crackled with blue energy. The warriors landed in the clearing, their dragons crushing trees beneath their weight. They dismounted with practiced grace, moving like soldiers, like hunters. They formed a triangle around Doyun and Yura, cutting off all escape. The lead warrior stepped forward. He was tall and lean, with the same pale blue skin as Yura. His face was hidden behind a helmet, but his voice was cold and sharp. "High One," he said, bowing his head slightly. "You have been found. The Empire has been searching for you for 23 cycles. It is time to return." Doyun looked at Yura. Her expression had changed completely. The warmth he had seen over the past weeks was gone, replaced by a cold mask of stone. She stood tall and straight, her chin raised, her violet eyes hard. "I did not ask to be found," she said. Her voice was different too, commanding, imperial. The voice of someone used to absolute power. "The Empire requires your presence. The coronation cannot wait any longer. The noble houses grow restless. Without a queen, there will be war." "Then let them war. I am not their queen." The warrior hesitated. Something flickered behind his helmet. "You are the last of the royal bloodline. The throne is yours by right of birth. You cannot escape your destiny. Watch me." The tension in the clearing was thick enough to cut. Doyun did not understand everything that was happening, but he understood enough. These soldiers had come to take Yura away, and Yura did not want to go. He stepped forward before he could think about what he was doing. "She said no," Doyun said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "I do not know who you are or where you come from, but in my house, no means no. She stays until she chooses to leave." The warriors turned to look at him. One of them laughed. "What is this?" the laughing warrior said. "A native creature? Does it speak, High One? Have you taken a pet?" "Leave him alone," Yura said sharply. "He is not part of this. He inserted himself into it. That makes him part of it." The warrior raised his weapon, pointing it at Dohyun's chest. "Step aside, creature. This does not concern you." Dohyun did not step aside. He did not know why. He was not brave. He was not a fighter. He was just a mechanic who fixed tractors and talked to chickens. But something in him refused to move. Something in him could not stand by and watch while armed men threatened a woman he cared about. "No," he said simply. The warrior's finger tightened on his weapon. Energy crackled along its length. "So be it," the warrior said. "One less native makes no difference." "Stop!" Yura's voice cut through the air like a blade. But it was more than just a voice. It was a command, a royal decree. The words seemed to carry physical weight, pressing down on everyone in the clearing. The warriors froze, their bodies locked in place, their weapons lowered against their will. They stood like statues, trembling with the effort of trying to move. Yura walked forward. Her eyes were blazing with violet light. Her voice, when she spoke again, was ancient and terrible and absolute. "I am High Queen Yuraveth of the Seventh Sky Throne, daughter of the Eternal Flame, heir to the 12 systems. My blood is the blood of empires. My word is law across 100 worlds. And I command you to kneel." The warriors fell to their knees, not because they chose to, but because they had no choice. Their bodies obeyed the voice of their queen, even when their minds resisted. Doyun stared at Yura, at the woman who had burned rice in his kitchen, at the woman who had laughed at her own terrible soup, at the woman who had stood on his porch and looked at the stars with lonely eyes. She was a queen, not just any queen, a high queen, the ruler of 12 star systems, the most powerful woman in her entire empire, and she had been hiding in his house, pretending to be a simple refugee. Yura did not look at him. She kept her eyes on the kneeling warriors. "You will return to the Empire," she said. "You will tell no one where I am. You will say you searched this sector and found nothing. If anyone asks about the native, you will say nothing. Do you understand?" "Yes, High One," the warriors said in unison. "Then go, and do not return unless I summon you." The warriors rose. They mounted their dragons. They flew back into the sky without another word, disappearing into the clouds as quickly as they had come. Silence fell over the clearing. Baram settled back down, her golden eyes watching Yura with something that looked like concern. Finally, Yura turned to face Dohyun. Her mask had fallen. The cold imperial authority was gone. In its place was something raw and vulnerable. Fear, shame, desperation. Do-hyun, she said quietly. I can explain. He was silent for a long moment. His mind was still trying to process everything he had seen. You are a queen, he said. Yes. You ran away from your own coronation. Yes. You lied to me. She flinched like he had struck her. Yes, I lied. I am sorry, I was afraid. I did not know if I could trust you. I did not know if I could trust anyone. Do-yun took a deep breath. He looked at her, really looked at her, at the fear in her eyes, at the trembling of her hands, at the way she stood there waiting for him to reject her, to hate her, to send her away. He thought about the past weeks, the cooking lessons, the laughter, the late nights on the porch. The woman who had cried by the window when she thought no one was watching. She had lied about who she was, but she had not lied about who she was becoming. Okay, he said finally. She blinked. Okay? Okay. You are a queen. You ran away. You lied. I understand why. Now do you want some tea? I think we need to talk. Yura stared at him like he had grown a second head. You are not angry? I am confused. I am a little scared. But angry? No. You had your reasons. Everyone has reasons. He turned and started walking toward the house. Come on. The tea is not going to make itself. And you still have a lot of explaining to do, Your Majesty. A small, broken laugh escaped Yura's throat. She followed him toward the house, toward the warmth, toward the simple kindness that she still did not fully understand. Behind them, Baram settled into the grass and closed her four golden eyes. Even the dragon seemed relieved. They sat at the small kitchen table with cups of tea between them. The steam rose in thin spirals, filling the room with the smell of green leaves and warmth. Outside, the sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Yura had not touched her tea. She stared at the cup like it held all the answers she could not find. Her hands were folded in her lap. Her shoulders were tight. She looked smaller somehow, like the revelation of her true identity had taken something from her instead of giving her power. Do-hyun waited. He was good at waiting. He had learned patience from fixing machines. Some problems could not be rushed. Some things needed time to reveal themselves. Finally, Yura spoke. My mother was the previous High Queen, she said. Her voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. She ruled for 200 years. In that time, she conquered 3 new systems. She crushed rebellions. She built the greatest fleet the Empire had ever seen. She was powerful, respected, feared. She paused. Her fingers tightened around each other. She was also cruel, cold. She saw people as pieces on a game board, to be moved and sacrificed as needed. She married 4 times, each time for political advantage. She had children with each husband, but she did not love any of them. We were tools to her, extensions of her power, nothing more. I am sorry, Do-hyun said. Do not be. It is the way of queens. Love is weakness. Attachment is vulnerability. A ruler who cares too much can be manipulated through those she cares about. So queens learn not to care at all. That sounds lonely. Yura finally looked up at him. Her violet eyes were bright with unshed tears. It is. You cannot imagine how lonely it is. To be surrounded by thousands of servants, hundreds of courtiers, millions of subjects, and to know that not one of them sees you as a person. You are a symbol, a crown, a throne. You are everything except yourself. She took a shaky breath. My mother died 6 months ago. An assassination. One of the noble houses finally succeeded after centuries of trying. I was supposed to take the throne immediately. The coronation ceremony was prepared. The entire empire was waiting. I was about to become the most powerful being in 12-star systems. But you ran. Yes, I ran. She stood up abruptly and walked to the window. Outside, the mountains stretched toward the horizon, dark and peaceful. On the night before my coronation, I could not sleep. I walked through the palace, through the gardens, through the halls where I had spent my entire life. And I realized something terrible. What? I realized that I did not know who I was. She pressed her hand against the glass. For 200 years, I had been prepared for the throne, trained, shaped, molded. Every word I spoke was chosen by advisors. Every step I took was planned by strategists. Every smile, every frown, every gesture was designed for maximum political effect. I was a perfect machine, a perfect queen, but I was not a person. I did not know what food I liked because I had always eaten what the cooks prepared. I did not know what music I enjoyed because I had always listened to what the performers played. I did not know if I was kind or cruel because I had always acted according to what was expected. I was hollow, empty, a puppet wearing a crown. She turned to face him. The tears were falling now, silver tracks down her blue cheeks. Do you understand, Do-hyun? I was about to become the ruler of an empire, and I did not even know my own favorite color. I did not know if I preferred sunrise or sunset. I did not know what made me laugh. I had never laughed. Not really. Not from joy. I had performed laughter when politics required it, but I had never felt it. So you ran away to find yourself. I ran away to see if there was a self to find. She laughed bitterly. I sabotaged my ship's tracking beacon. I flew to the edge of known space. I looked for a world where no one knew the Villani, where no one had heard of queens and empires and thrones. I wanted to land somewhere and just exist, to be no one, to see if, without the crown, there was anything left of me at all. And you crashed on Earth. I crashed on Earth. Into your mountains, into your life. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I expected to find nothing. I expected to discover that without the throne, I was empty, just a hollow shell with nothing inside. But instead, she walked toward him. She stopped just in front of him, close enough to touch. Instead, I found this small house, this simple life. You, her voice cracked. You who help strangers because they need help. You who cook rice and talk to chickens. You who laugh at terrible soup instead of punishing the one who made it. You showed me something I had never seen before. What did I show you? Warmth, she whispered. Kindness without calculation. Generosity without expectation. You showed me that it is possible to simply be good, to care about someone without wanting anything in return. You showed me that softness is not weakness, that gentleness is not foolishness, that there is strength in a kind heart. She reached out and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin, trembling slightly. You saw me, Do-hyun. Not the crown, not the power, not the title. You saw the woman who could not cook, who talked to dragons, who stood by windows and cried at the stars. You saw me, and you did not turn away. Do-hyun's heart was beating fast. He did not know what to say. He was just a mechanic. He fixed tractors. He was nobody special. But this woman, this queen of 12-star systems, was looking at him like he was the most important person in the universe. I did not do anything special, he said. I just treated you like a person. That is the most special thing anyone has ever done for me. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his. Her breath was warm. Her eyes were closed. They stayed like that for a long moment, two beings from different worlds, connected by something neither of them fully understood. I do not want to go back, she whispered. I want to stay here, with you, in this small house, in these quiet mountains, where no one expects anything from me except to be myself. I want to learn who I am. I want to cook more terrible soup and watch more sunsets and laugh at more stupid things. I want to be Yura, just Yura, not a queen, not a ruler, just a woman who finally found a place where she belongs. Do-hyun took her hands in his. They were cold. He warmed them between his palms. Then stay, he said simply. She opened her eyes. Hope flickered in their violet depths. It is not that simple. The empire needs a ruler. Without me, there will be war. Millions could die. I cannot just abandon them. I know. Then why do you say stay? He smiled gently. Because you need to hear that you have a choice. Whatever you decide, it should be your decision. Not duty, not expectation, not what others want from you. For once in your life, you should choose. Yura stared at him. New tears spilled down her cheeks, but these were different. These were not tears of pain. They were tears of something that felt terrifyingly like love. How do you do that? She asked. Do what? Make everything sound so simple, so clear, like the answer was always there, and I just needed someone to say it out loud. He shrugged. I fix things, machines mostly, but sometimes people are not so different. Sometimes they just need someone to see what is broken and help them put it back together. She laughed through her tears. A real laugh. A warm laugh. The kind of laugh she had never made before coming to Earth. I think I love you, Park Do-yoon, she said. The words hung in the air between them, heavy and bright and true. Do-yoon's cheeks turned red. He was not used to such declarations. He was not used to alien queens confessing their love in his kitchen. But he knew what he felt. He had known it for a while now. He had just been too afraid to name it. I think I love you too, Yura, he said. She smiled, and in that smile he saw not a queen, not a ruler, not the most powerful woman in 12-star systems. He saw just Yura. The woman who had crashed into his life and changed everything. Outside, the last light of the sun faded behind the mountains. Night fell over the small house, but inside something new was beginning. 3 more weeks passed. They were the happiest weeks of Yura's long life. She woke each morning beside Do-yoon, in a bed that smelled like pine and clean cotton. She ate breakfast with him, simple meals of rice and eggs and vegetables. She helped him in his shop, handing him tools and watching him work. She learned the names of the villagers, the grandmother who loved old radios, the farmer whose tractor broke every month, the children who played in the street and stared at her strange appearance with curious eyes. She told them she was from Europe. It was not a good lie, but people believed what they wanted to believe. And the villagers wanted to believe that the strange blue-haired woman who had appeared in their quiet mountain village was just another human who had found her way to this peaceful corner of the world. Baram stayed in the forest, hidden from sight. The dragon was restless but patient. She understood that her rider needed this time. She waited. But the universe does not wait forever. The message came on a cold morning in late autumn. Yura's personal communicator, the one she had disabled when she fled, suddenly activated. A holographic image appeared above the device, flickering with static. The image showed a woman. She was old by Vellani standards, her blue skin lined with age, her silver hair thin and brittle, but her eyes were sharp and clear. She wore the robes of a royal advisor. "Hi, one," the woman said. Her voice was formal, but beneath it was desperation. "I apologize for this intrusion. I know you wish to remain hidden, but the situation has become critical." Yura stood frozen, staring at the image. Do-yoon stood beside her, watching with worried eyes. "What has happened?" Yura asked. "Civil war, High One. House Varath has declared independence from the Empire. 3 other houses have joined them. The fleet is divided. Battles have already begun. Without a crown ruler, there is no legal authority to command the military. The war will spread." The advisor's image flickered. "Casualties are estimated at 2 million in the first week alone. The numbers will grow exponentially. Entire worlds are at risk. If you do not return, if you do not take the throne and unite the houses, the empire will tear itself apart. Everything your ancestors built will be destroyed." Yura's face had gone pale. Her hands were shaking. "How long do I have?" "Days, perhaps a week. After that, the damage will be beyond repair. Please, High One, I know you did not want this. I know the burden is heavy, but you are the only one who can stop this. You are the only one they will follow." The image flickered once more and disappeared. Silence filled the room. Yura sank into a chair. She stared at the place where the hologram had been, her expression empty. Do-hyun knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "Yura," he said gently. 2 million, she whispered, "in 1 week. And it will only get worse. Children will die. Families will be destroyed. Worlds will burn. All because I ran away. You did not start this war. No. But I might be the only one who can stop it." She looked at him. Her violet eyes were filled with anguish. "I have to go back, do I not? I have to return and take the throne and become the queen I always feared becoming. There is no other choice." Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He thought about his life before Yura crashed into it. The peace, the solitude, the simple routine of fixing machines and watching sunsets. He thought about the future he had begun to imagine, a future where she stayed, where they built a life together in this quiet mountain village. That future was dying. He could feel it slipping away with every passing second. But he thought about something else too. He thought about the woman he loved, the woman who had learned to cook rice and laugh at her mistakes, the woman who had found herself for the first time in 200 years, the woman who deserved to be happy. She would not be happy if she stayed, not truly, not while millions died because she ran. You know what I think? He said finally. What? I think you are not choosing between your people and yourself. You are choosing what kind of queen you want to be. She frowned. What do you mean? You found something here. Peace, kindness, a different way of living. You do not have to leave that behind when you take the throne. You can take it with you. You can be a different kind of queen, the kind who remembers what it feels like to be a person. The court will never accept it. They will see kindness as weakness. Maybe at first, but you showed me that softness and strength are not opposites. You showed me that a kind heart can be braver than a hard one. If you believe that, truly believe it, then show them. Prove them wrong. Be the queen that you would have wanted when you were young and alone and afraid. Yura stared at him. Her eyes were wet with tears. You make it sound so simple. It is not simple. It is probably the hardest thing you will ever do. But I believe you can do it. I believe in you, Yura. I have since the first night I found you in the mountains. She laughed through her tears. You are crazy. You know that. You are completely crazy. Probably. I love you. I love you too. She reached out and took his face in her hands. She kissed him, soft and gentle and full of everything she could not put into words. When she pulled back, there was something new in her eyes. Not fear, not anguish. Something that looked almost like determination. Come with me, she said. Doyun blinked. What? Come with me, to the Empire, as my consort, my partner, my reminder of who I want to be. She gripped his hands tightly. I cannot do this alone. I am not strong enough. But with you beside me, I think I could be. I think I could be the queen I never thought I could be. Yura, I am just a mechanic. I fix tractors. I do not know anything about empires or politics or ruling. Good, neither do I. Not the kind of ruling I want to do. We will figure it out together. She smiled, and despite everything, there was joy in that smile. Besides, you said you help people who need help. Well, I need help. I am asking you to help me save my empire. What do you say? Doyen looked at her. At the woman who had crashed into his life and turned it upside down. At the queen who had run away from her throne and found her heart in a small mountain village. At the stranger who had become something much more. He thought about everything he would be leaving behind. His house, his shop, his quiet life, the grandmother with the old radios, the farmer with the broken tractor, the chickens he talked to every morning. Then he thought about everything he would be gaining. Adventure, purpose, love. I have one condition, he said. Anything. Teach me your language. If I am going to be the consort of a space queen, I should probably know how to say hello without accidentally declaring war. Yura laughed. A real, full, beautiful laugh that filled the room with warmth. Deal, she said. We leave at dawn. Bahram is strong enough to carry us both. We will reach the nearest relay station in 3 days. From there we can travel to the capital. 3 days on a dragon through space. Yes, with no bathroom. We will manage. Doyen sighed. The things I do for love. But he was smiling as he said it. And when he looked at Yura, at the hope in her eyes, at the love in her smile, he knew he had made the right choice. The next morning they left Earth behind. Doyun sat on Bahram's back, holding tight to Yura as the dragon rose into the sky. He watched the mountains grow small beneath them, the village shrinking to a tiny dot, then disappearing entirely. Then the sky turned dark, the stars came out, and Park Doyen of Earth began the greatest adventure of his life. The coronation of High Queen Yuraveth was the largest event in the history of the Villani Empire. Every noble house sent representatives. Every system sent dignitaries. The Great Hall of the Sky Palace, a structure of crystal and light that floated in orbit around the imperial homeworld, was filled with thousands of Villani, all dressed in their finest ceremonial robes, all watching as their new queen took the throne. But it was not the coronation itself that shocked the empire. It was what came after. When Yura rose from the throne, newly crowned, the ancient diadem of starlight resting on her brow, she did not deliver the traditional speech about power and glory and the eternal might of the Villani. Instead, she spoke of something else entirely. She spoke of kindness. "I have been to a world beyond our borders," she said, her voice carrying through the hall, amplified by the ancient speakers. "A small world, primitive by our standards, inhabited by a species that lives only 100 years. They have no great fleets. They have no dragon-bonded warriors. They have nothing that we would call power." The hall was silent. Every eye was fixed on her. "But they have something we have lost. They have kindness. Not the calculated kindness of politics, but true kindness. The kind that asks nothing in return. The kind that helps strangers simply because they need help. I experienced this kindness firsthand. It saved me. It changed me. And today I bring it back to our empire." She raised her hand and the doors at the end of the hall opened. Do-hyun walked in. He was dressed in simple clothes, human clothes, nothing like the elaborate robes of the Villani nobles. He looked small and plain and completely out of place. The nobles stared at him with expressions of shock, disgust, and confusion. Yura smiled. "This is Park Do-hyun of Earth. He found me when I was lost. He helped me when I was wounded. He asked nothing from me except to be treated as a person. He is my consort, my partner, my heart. And from this day forward, he will stand beside me as I rule." The hall erupted. Nobles shouted in protest. Advisors rushed forward with objections. Ancient protocols were cited. Traditions were invoked. The chaos was overwhelming. But Yura simply stood there, calm and unmoved, waiting for the storm to pass. And eventually it did, because she was the queen, because her word was law, because beneath all their anger and confusion, the Villani respected strength, and there was strength in her stillness, strength in her certainty, strength in the way she looked at them without flinching. "This is not a request," she said, when the hall finally fell quiet. "This is a declaration. The old ways brought us war. The old ways brought us suffering. The old ways nearly destroyed our empire. I offer a new way. Follow me, and I will lead you to something better. Fight me, and you will lose." No one fought her. The first year was difficult. The traditionalists opposed her at every turn. Assassination attempts were frequent. The noble houses tested her constantly, probing for weakness, waiting for her to fail. Do-hyun became an unlikely force in the court. He did not play political games. He did not scheme or manipulate or plot. He simply existed. The way he had always existed, with quiet kindness and gentle honesty. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. Assassins sent to kill him found themselves sitting in his quarters, drinking tea and talking about their families. Hostile diplomats expecting verbal warfare encountered only genuine questions about their worlds and their lives. Nobles who tried to provoke him with insults received only confused blinks and sincere offers of help. "Your human is strange," one advisor told Yura after watching Do-hyun befriend a particularly hostile ambassador. "He does not behave according to any model I understand." "That is because you are trying to understand him through Villani logic," Yura replied. "He operates on human logic. It is simpler and more complicated at the same time." "What is human logic?" "Kindness, just kindness. Nothing more, nothing less." The advisor had no response to that. Slowly, things began to change. Yura visited the common districts of her capital, something no High Queen had done in centuries. She listened to petitions not as performances, but as genuine cries for help. She reformed the justice system to protect the weak. She opened schools and hospitals and community centers. She treated her servants with respect, learning their names, asking about their families, caring about their lives. The people noticed. The common Villani, the millions who had always been invisible to the throne, began to see their queen differently. She was not a distant symbol anymore. She was a person, a leader who actually led. The civil war ended within months, not through military victory, but through diplomacy. Yura met with the rebel houses personally, listened to their grievances, addressed their concerns. She offered compromises that no previous ruler would have considered. She treated them as partners rather than enemies. "Why should we trust you?" the leader of House Vareth demanded during negotiations. "Because I understand why you rebelled," Yura said simply. "You felt unheard, ignored, trapped in a system that did not care about your people. I felt the same way once. That is why I ran. But running is not the answer. Change is the answer, and I am offering you change." The rebellion ended. The houses returned to the fold. The empire was whole again. Years passed. The Great Reformation, as historians would later call it, spread throughout the 12 systems. Laws changed. Traditions evolved. The Villani Empire transformed from a cold machine of power into something warmer, something kinder, something better. And at the center of it all stood a human mechanic from Earth who had simply wanted to help a stranger. On the 10th anniversary of her coronation, Yura stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. 3 moons hung in the sky, casting silver light across the towering spires and floating gardens. The city below was alive with celebration, millions of Vellani marking a decade of peace and prosperity. Doyun stood beside her, older now, his hair touched with gray, but his eyes were the same, kind, warm, gentle. "I remember when you crashed into my mountains," he said. "I thought my quiet life was over." "Was it?" "Yes, and I have never been happier." Yura leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. She was no longer the cold, frightened woman who had landed on Earth 10 years ago. She was still a queen, still powerful, still responsible for billions of lives, but she was also herself, finally, completely, truly herself. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "Earth? Your house? Your chickens?" "Sometimes. I miss the mountains. I miss the smell of pine trees in autumn. But I have new things now, better things." He put his arm around her. "Besides, I still talk to the palace birds. The servants think I am crazy, but the birds like me." Yura laughed. Even now, after all these years, her laugh still surprised her. It came so easily now, so naturally, like it had always been there, waiting to be set free. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For everything. For finding me. For helping me. For seeing me when no one else could. For loving me when I did not know how to love myself." Doyun kissed her forehead. The same way he had kissed her on that first night when they had confessed their love in his small kitchen. Always, he said. They stood there together, watching the celebration below. 2 beings from different worlds united by something simple and powerful and eternal. In the royal archives, historians were already writing about the Great Reformation. They traced its origin to a crashed ship on an uncharted world, to a queen who had run away from her destiny, to a human mechanic who had helped a stranger simply because she needed help. But the true history, the real story, was simpler than any book could capture. It was a story about kindness, about seeing the person beneath the crown, about choosing love over fear and softness over cruelty. It was a story about 2 people who found each other across the vastness of space and discovered that the most powerful force in the universe was not armies or empires or ancient bloodlines. It was just a kind heart. And in a universe full of darkness and chaos and endless conflict, that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.